It's hard to imagine I could ever get up to any trouble, but there was a time where I needed to go to summer camp to work out my own issues. And with me right now is Ray Wheeler, who was the former director of Winkler Bible Camp. Now you're head of Christian Camps International. Ray,
Children's Camps.
Children's Camps International.
Right.
How did you ever find this old picture of me at camp? That was like, okay, 40 years ago.
Well, we made a couple of phone calls, and one of them was to Ted Goosen,
Yay,
who was the director
Ted
back
and
there.
Mary Goosen.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
loved me when I was in a difficult place in my life. Summer camp touched your life too, didn't it?
Well, it did in an unusual way. I did attend 1 week of summer camp. It was a little bit of a traumatic experience. First of all, I was homesick. I didn't like it.
How could you be homesick? You were such a troublemaker.
I was a little bit of a
as a teenager, yeah.
Yeah, as a troublemaker. But being away from home at that time, I think it was 8 or 9-year-old, it was pretty difficult. And so later on, when I became a camp director, I guess I became more empathetic and compassionate to the kids, because a lot of, especially the boys, they're homesick. And so I could really come alongside them. So.
Summer camp for me at Winkler Bible Camp changed my life forever about God. We had this ceremony at the end of camp, at the end of August, where Ted would ask if you wanted to follow Jesus, you threw a stick in the fire.
Okay, right.
And that happened for me that summer, an August day, 40 years ago.
Wow.
And that was a leadership summer for me. Not only did I start following Jesus seriously, I had many like false steps and many, but that was it.
Right on.
And so Winkler Bible Camp is incredibly precious to me, but it also gave me the chance to be a lifeguard that summer. And it was a summer I was really messed up as a young person. And the love in that camp from the cook and Ted and Mary and others and their families, you know, something happens at camp that is remarkable, isn't it, for
There's
leadership?
so many testimonies and so many stories. And statistics show that so many people that get an opportunity to serve at camp will go on to full-time ministry. They'll be involved in it. It changes their lives. It gives them an opportunity to really experience God in a unique way and to understand that God wants to work through them, specifically them. He's chosen them. It's not just a faith for somebody else and a journey that he wants to take everybody else on, but them specifically.
So how important is it to take a child out of the daily routine and put him in a nature place and stretch their comfort zone a bit, physically and spiritually?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely essential, because we all get into a rut, into the routine of life, and for something to take us out of that, to really get us involved in a community and to build relationships. And I think the biggest thing is to see the love of Christ being modeled, being lived out, is something that all of us yearn for. When we taste and see how good Jesus is, we see it in other people, we want the same thing.
Yeah, we still all need to go to camp summer to do that. But let's, since we both were kids working out our troubled issues with God at Bible camp, God has gone on to give you a huge vision to do Christian Camping International for kids all over the place. Tell us what happened when you answered an email from a man in India wondering if we could do camping more than just in Winkler, Manitoba.
Yeah. Well, we get an application actually from this young man in India, and he wanted to be a camp counselor because he had a job in New York City. And so he sat down with his pastors and he was praying about what he could do before that. And so as we had sent him an application, apparently we don't remember sending an application, but we responded to one of his emails, and he filled it out, we got the application, and he sat down with his pastors in their little thatched roof church on the floor, and he prayed with them about should he go to this camp. And so they took out a map of North America, and they located where New York City was and where Winnipeg was. And one of the pastors responded and said, well, they're so close together, why don't you go do ministry over there in the Winnipeg-Winkler area, then take a bus to New York City, because they're right close together. Okay. And so that's the understanding or image he had. And so for us to accept him as a camp counselor, a little bit of a difficult because of his language.
You were on the cutting edge of globalization is what happened. Okay.
God had a plan.
God had a plan. And this plan has included and excited now farming communities and church communities to send children to camps like we have in Canada, but to make it in locations where camping would not be possible yet. So tell us about the amazing harvest event that I'm going to be cheering on. I'm going to be on the ground with you in WIELER on the 4th. Our regular viewers, you've been seeing commercials every day for this very special event. Tell us about the amazing harvest.
Well, as a ministry starting out in 2005, our first year, we wanted the people to hear about it. We know that God was doing incredible things, but how do you scream that from the mountaintops to the world?
You set a Guinness World Book of Records. Well, you guys are crazy. Look at what you're doing here. Describe this shot of all these combines.
Yeah. Well, what you want to do is catch people's attention.
Yeah, well.
Yes. So what we did is we did something that had never been done before. The record was 68 combines in one field, and so we brought together 105. And being agricultural community, rural community, it resonates. It really speaks to their heart, being involved in this. And then for us, certainly as believers, we see the symbolism of the spiritual harvest. I mean, Jesus talks about that. And I've had people at that time interview me and they kind of question, like, what does harvest have to do with children going to camp? And I'm fairly, you know, I don't want to offend people, but at that time I felt, you know, I really need to unload and tell them what the spiritual harvest is all about, what Jesus says about the spiritual harvest. And so I shared that the field is ripe. It really is. And I tried to help people envision.
Children are so ready for God's love.
Yeah. And I try to help people within the faith community, the Christian community, to capture that vision, understanding. What if every one of us would do the part that God's asked us to do? Having these, at that time, 105 and then 200 combines on one field, we assign them all one specific role, one thing to do, and to do this within 5 to 10 minutes
all at
to
the
complete
same
at the same time.
Which is so. Okay, you got a shot here of the lady from the Guinness World Book of Records.
Yes.
I didn't realize they actually come on site.
They come on site.
Okay, and so we're going to be there again on Saturday because you're going to set another record. Now we're going for 300 combines.
Yeah.
I'm praying it won't rain.
Right.
and really, these are Manitoba, and some of these are Saskatchewan farmers, are they not?
There's a few coming from Saskatchewan.
Because you also do this in Saskatchewan.
Right, but majority will be obviously Manitoba. Okay. And they're coming from probably as far as 200 miles away, some being trucked in, a few being driven in, but the majority would come within 45 minutes, half hour of our location, which is right on the edge of WIELER.
Okay, all right. So Huntley Street is going to go on the road with you guys, and we're gonna bring you back the amazing story. And Ray, it's so encouraging that something that blessed both of our lives when we were very young is now able to be shared in over 2,500 international churches.
Right.
That's remarkable. Okay, and you're going to find out how to make that connection internationally. But right now, $5 a child, $5 a child can get you into this international, beautiful work of Harvest for Kids. And think about that, pray about getting involved, and we'll bring you some more great stories after the Harvest weekend of what went on. But for now, pray about your part of sponsoring at $5 a child. Watch this.
I think that's one thing you had said to me too, just the time when they said, you know, start your engines or whatever it was.
Yes.
And to hear
everybody's engines roar to life.
Start up, you know, it's like, oh my, this is big. Because the sound was just everywhere.